What's up, guys? Today we are going to start playing this game called Asagao Academy. If you've never heard of Asagao Academy, it is a free game, that's right, free game that you can download online and play, and it features the creators of Normal Boots Club, or Normal Boots, which is a gaming group on YouTube. You can find them. It has Peanut Butter Gamer Pro Jared, the Completionist Satch Bags, and Shane from Did You Know Gaming. It is... Oh, and Continue. Yes, Continue's in here as well. This is a dating sim game, so if you're not into that, I'm sorry, but it is a great game, and we are going to get started. Chapter 1. The train made its way along the gentle curve of the coast of Japan, whisking me farther and farther from home. Across from me sat a boy, face half buried in a newspaper. He was deeply entranced in whatever article he was reading and hadn't spoken a single word to me, even when I asked him if I could join him in the compartment with any available space. Or the last compartment with any available space. He shrugged, nodded, and adjusted his newspaper without ever making eye contact. It had been almost an hour, and in fact, he hadn't once looked at me. Devoid of any conversation, I instead took to counting the buttons on the pretentiously lush carmine seat cushions. 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, and so forth, over and over. Now and again, I turned to look out the window where the trees were blurring by. Sometimes the smeared green would break and reveal the quiet blue of the Sea of Japan. Eventually, this rapidly made my stomach churn, and I went back to counting the buttons on the seat cushions. 1, 2, 3. The train compartment shuddered around us. My eyes wandered to the boy in his jacket. It wasn't the school-issued blue that I and the other students on the train were wearing. Instead, it was a green, varsity-like jacket with an embroidered patch sewn poorly on the front. So you're a first year, then? He folded his newspaper neatly, set it on his lap, and looked at me with a half-interested gaze. Did he just catch me staring? Now that the paper was gone, I saw his face. He watched me through heavy-lidded eyes. His hair was immaculately groomed, his teeth straight and blindingly bright. There was something about him, the way the light hit him, that made him look like he was almost sparkling. Me? He glanced around the compartment, empty beside us, and laughed. Oh, no, I'm not a first year. I'm a third year. The train began to slow, metal wheels groaning against metal tracks. The sudden shift threatened to rob me of whatever was left in my stomach, but I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, willing myself to keep it together. What kind of impression would I leave puking on a student before I even arrived at the academy? The boy frowned. I picked at the hem of my cotton skirt. That's not possible. I've never seen you before. It took me a moment of mouth fishing to find a response. It's because I'm a transfer student? He laughed again. A transfer student, huh? We don't get many of those. I removed my acceptance letter from the front pocket of my uniform. The paper, heavyweight, off-white, had accumulated creases from my reading and rereading it, as the words might have changed since the last time I read it. The boy took it, studied it, and then handed it back to me.
I'll see you around.
Oh, sorry. Well then, Hannah, I suppose I'll be seeing you around. He smiled at me as he picked up the suitcase lying next to him. By the time I hiccuped a response, he was already gone from the compartment. I stared out into the empty hallway of the train. It was then that I realized he, having gotten it from my acceptance letter, knew my name, and I never got his. The train settled at the station, and I filed out with the rest of the uniformed students. It was early April, and the last frost of winter had come and gone. The trees were already green, their leaves shivering, the occasional gusts weaving through them. The air was mild, only a few clouds hanging in the sky. I walked along the road with the swarm of blue-jacketed bodies, looking for little groups breaking off from the crowd. Everyone was buzzing so animatedly around me. I held my suitcase tight in my sweaty hands. It was leather-bound and worth more than anything it contained. It wasn't far to the school, and I, for maybe the first time in my life, was thankful that what I owned didn't amount to much. My school issued black my school-issued black Oxfords click, click, clicked on the pavement. I walked this walk over and over in my mind. So many nights I lay awake imagining what it would be like to walk from the train station to Asagao Academy this first time. My new start. I always imagined that everything would change for me on this walk, that somehow everything would be magically different. But as I looked around, I realized nothing had changed. I hadn't changed. By the time I reached the massive gates to the academy, I forgot all about the disappointment slouching in the back of my throat. The school, framed by the gate's twisting black metal, was just as beautiful and as glossy as the photos I saw in its pamphlets. This was it, Asagao Academy. I glanced around, the swarm of students gathering around the gate. Beyond it, tiny blue people bounced around the academy's main building. A girl pressed a button to one side of the gate. The excitement in the air was almost palpable. A few moments later, the black gate, with great effort, creaked outwards and cleared the pathway. As the rest of the group shifted into motion, I followed along, a sheep in the herd. My stomach tied itself into knots. The crowd split off in different directions. For a moment, I panicked. A tired-looking man with gray hair called out for first years. A cluster of fresh-faced students gathering around him. Hey, look at that girl! I turned. A few feet away from me, a small group of boys were pointing at me and snickering. Pink hair? You kidding me? How desperate can you get? Hot shame crawled down my neck. I attached myself to a group of girls, following a few steps behind them. In the distance, cicadas hummed in time with shoes crunching against the gravel. My hair. It wasn't my fault that my hair looked like this. Luckily, I found myself at the girls' dormitory, a large sign on the lawn reading Primrose House. As the building dwarfed me in size and sheer intimidation. How many students did Asagao have? As I approached the building, a red-headed girl lingering nearby caught my attention. I looked away. Then I looked back. She was staring at me. She walked over.
Oh, you must be my roommate!
I eyed her warily. She was smiling and bouncing in a way that suggested her views in life were akin to a perpetual bouncy castle.
What?
Me?
Bingo.
Of course, you silly. Let me guess, room 325? I thought back to the paper I received a month prior with a list of all the supplies I needed for the year and my dorm arrangements. Yeah, that's right. She laughed, but I couldn't figure out what was so funny. Was she laughing at me? When I found out my roommate was a transfer student, I knew you were going to be like a total main character. I'm sorry. A what?
Mm-hmm.
When I saw you outside the gate, I knew it was you. I mean, look at that hair. I felt a lump forming in my throat. What was she talking about? She had to be making fun of me. I couldn't have spent more than 5 minutes on campus, and I was already being mocked. My hands began to tremble. Is there something wrong with my hair? Her face slackened from its amused smile to a more worried expression. Then she began to laugh again.
Oh, no. It's great. I'm sorry. We're getting off on the wrong foot, aren't we? Oh, gosh. I'm Mai Sasaki. You must be Hana.
I bowed my head.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you, Mai. All your school books are waiting in our room with your welcome letter, and I read the envelope. I hope you're not mad. Mai started walking towards the dorm's front doors. I followed behind like a lost puppy. Did you check in at the front desk already? No, I didn't. I didn't know I was supposed to. Good. They'll offer to have a staff member give you a tour of the campus, but I can show you around. We don't get many transfer students in year 3, you know. Oh, is that your only bag? Just the one? I'm glad I brought a bunch of extra stuff to decorate our room with. I already started. I hope you don't mind. But I did wait to string the lights. I thought we could do it together, you know? She spoke quickly, the words bubbling from her mouth, and left me no time to answer until the end of her monologue. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. She held the front door open for me, and I hurried inside. Girls filed up and down the hallway, howling greetings and exchanging vague niceties that were, more often than not, how was your break? And look how tan you got. It seemed like everyone knew each other. Ah! Wrong button. Sorry. I followed Mai as she led me through the maze of students and up 2 flights of stairs. Each dorm floor looked the same as the last. Narrow white doors lining both sides of the pink pale walls. The thin gold numbers were tacked to the front of each, the numbers rising as we climbed. You're not missing anything with the campus tour, I promise. Mr. Saitomo Does them every year, and he's like totally dull. Just drags you around the entire campus and talks in that weird squeaky voice of his. I'll tell you everything you need to know. I smiled, trying to let this calm my nerves. Thanks. We headed down a hallway on the 3rd floor. Mai stopped us in front of a door numbered 325. Here we are! The faint smell of potpourri wafted through the room. The walls like the hallway were a soft powdery pink. Mai had already defaced them with a tapestry of posters, magazine cutouts, and photographs. Some of the photos were of cats, but mostly were of male models and rugged musicians. A bunk bed, 2 writing desks with wooden chairs, a small dresser, and a mirrored vanity, all clearly provided by the school, were the only pieces of furniture in the tiny room. The top bunk was already covered neatly in blankets and throw pillows of varying patterns and colors. The bottom bunk had a single stiff-looking pillow and a thin cotton blanket that I didn't need to touch to know was horribly itchy. I must have grimaced because Mai quickly smiled at me. I bought way too many pillows and blankets. I always overpack. I went to Italy over break and my mom got really mad at me because I brought 5 bags, but we were only there for a week. She laughed, pulled several blankets and pillows from her bunk, and rearranged them neatly on mine. A sudden twinge of guilt and embarrassment hit me.
Perfection.
There, that's much better. Thanks, Mai. I placed my suitcase on the bottom bunk and began to unpack its contents. Several changes of clothing, pens and pencils, an empty notebooks, a few photographs of my father, a dilapidated stuffed rabbit, an old portable radio, and a small black box. Mai opened the curtains and the sunlight poured in. So, where are you from? I slid the now empty suitcase under the bottom bunk. About 2 hours north of here. It's a small town called Amaritsu. You probably haven't heard of it. I set the stuffed rabbit, Mr. Bunny, on my bed beside a purple and teal throw pillow. Oh, did you go to a different boarding school before, or? No, I went to a public school down the street from my house. Public school? What was that like? Were the students mean? Did you have a lot of friends? I always went to private schools. My parents work a lot, and my dad goes overseas, so they sent me here for convenience. Oh, hey, what's that? I removed an ornately patterned origami crane from the black box and was setting it on the unflamed writing desk. Oh, this? My mother made it for me a long time ago. I set it beside a stack of thick textbooks, which I assumed were provided for me. Wow, it's so pretty. I've never seen paper like that before. Oh, you have the lights. Let me get them. Mai went to her own desk, pulled open the drawer, and pulled out a long, tangled string of fairy lights. I thought these would look nice. Here, help me string them up. She grabbed a container of pushpins, then pulled her wooden desk chair out and over to one wall. I did the same with my own. Together we pinned the lights around the perimeter of the room. How's the train ride over? Did you meet anyone? No, not really. I was in a compartment with some guy and...
What?
Some guy, huh? Was he cute? Oh, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't even get his name. Mai seemed disappointed for a moment, then perked back up. You'll have to put him out to me if you see him again. Okay. Once we finished stringing the lights, Mai climbed down from her chair and brushed her hands together triumphantly.
Yeah!
Done! Okay, now it's time for lunch. The food here is pretty good. There's this ramen place down the street from campus that's like out of this world, but the school only lets us leave campus on weekends. Mai walked to the window. We could go today because it's Sunday and it's pretty nice out, but I guess you might want to go to the caf since you just got here. We could... She was suddenly interrupted by her own enthusiastic laughter. Oh my gosh, Mimi Santos totally just tripped outside and fell on her face. I totally saw it. Does that mean to laugh? Maybe I shouldn't have. Oh well, anyways, let's go eat. I'm totally starved. She led me out of the room before I even had a chance to respond. The cafeteria was buzzing with students excited for the new year. The only people were as nervous looking as I felt were tables of skittish, wide-eyed first years. I stepped in line behind Mai, taking an empty plastic tray. We shuffled through, asking for helpings from the sulky cafeteria workers when we could pass something that looked good. With full trays, Mai led me straight to a table in the back where the few students were already sitting. Mai sat down and I took a seat across from her. Okay, Mimi. Oh my goodness! Hi, Mai. How was your break? It was good. I went to Italy and Spain. Dad fell off a jet ski and broke his ankle. It's better now, though. Oh, well, that's nice. I expected to be introduced, but the girl just turned back to a group of friends, and mine turned back to me. She began to assault her food with a fork and tell me, in practically minute-by-minute account, about her fleeting romance last summer with a boy she met on a beach that didn't go further than a few salty kisses. I sat back and let mine talk. For the first time since arriving on campus, I felt like I was finally able to breathe. I picked at my Brussels sprouts and studied mine as she spoke. The more she talked, the more I began to notice small details about her. She had a high songbird voice.
What?
She was dynamic, her face twisting its way this way and that into exaggerated expressions as she spoke. She laughed often. She imitated people in wildly unflattering voices, seemingly unrelated to her actual opinion of them. But most notably, she talked. A lot. I didn't find this particularly annoying, as it filled the silence, and she hardly had to ask questions that required my full attention. Just as Mai was rounding off a shockingly detailed account of the time she accidentally walked in on her friend's older brother in the act of changing, a flash of familiar green caught my eye. I glanced over. Hey, that's him! Huh? Who? I leaned across the table to whisper just in case he could hear me through the ambient chatter of the lunchroom. The boy from the train! That's him!
What?
Jared? Yeah, with the weird green jacket and swoopy hair. He just picked up his tray and was walking past us when something seemed to catch his eye. Oh, you. I looked up at him, suddenly realizing he was talking to me.
Hana.
I met you on the train. How are things settling down for you? Really well. I found my roommate and she's been helping me out. I gestured to Mai, who was thunderstruck. In fact, looking around, everyone was. People stopped eating to turn and stare at Jared and me. My shoulders bunched around my neck. Well, if you ever need any help, I'll be around. Third year, right? I nodded.
All right.
Some of my friends are in that year. Of course, they can't compare to me, but I'll give them the heads up to look out for you. He flashed a dazzling smile, then winked. It's the least I can do for such a cute girl. Well, I'll see you around. I watched, a torrent of hot thoughts raging through my head as he took a seat next to a bunch of guys who were all wearing the same jacket. That's Jared! She tore her eyes away from him and looked at me.
He's so cute.
He's the most beautiful guy in school!
Oh, Jared.
I can't believe he just looked at me. I looked at Mai. Her cheeks were glowing an indecent pink. Why do they all wear those jackets? Aren't all the guys supposed to wear blue blazers as part of their uniform? No, they're allowed to. You know Jared? That girl turned back around and was looking at me with sudden interest. Did I know him? I only talked to him in the train for a few minutes, so not really. We weren't friends or anything. But looking at it around, Mai and this girl were the only ones who were interested. Everyone seemed to be listening in. They seemed surprised when you talked to me. Maybe a little white lie. Couldn't hurt. Okay, I don't know Jared. So I'm gonna say not really. Oh. She looked me up and down, sniffed, and turned away. Mai leaned towards me. Don't mind Mimi, she was just trying to get in with you. Get in with me? Why? Well, you asked me about those guys and their jackets, right? Those are their Normal Boot Club's jackets. They're what? What's Normal Boots Club? Oh, look at them all! They're so cute! It's a club we have at school. It's like totally exclusive and full of only the coolest students. They get together and play video games. Or something. That one right there is John, also known as Jontron. His bird's name is Jacques. John is the president of the drama club here at school. Next to him is PBG. He and John founded the Normal Boots Club together. PBG is one of the best soccer players on our team. And then there's Jared. Or, no, wrong. That's Gerard. Then there's Gerard. People call him the completionist because he's obsessed with completing things. He has the biggest itty-bitty kitty collection I've ever seen. Next to him is Jared, also known as Pro Jared. He's a model. And then there's Satchbag, but everyone calls him Satch. He's like crazy smart. And those guys over there are Paul, Nick, and Josh. They write a column in the school newspaper called Continue. Paul, the one standing up, is the student council president. And the guy in the end there is Shane. He knows more about video games than anyone, ever. She exhaled a dreamy sigh into her mashed potatoes. So, how would someone, join the Normal Boots Club? You don't choose the boots, Hana. The boots choose you. What does that even mean? You have to be presented with the boots to be in the club, and they're like super selective. What are the boots? The club has this boot statue. It's like the one on their patches, but it's gold-plated. It's their mascot, I guess? They do this weird initiation ritual with it. Ritual? I hear they fill a room with candles and wear these totally creepy robes during initiation. This 2-year-old girl, she said she saw it once, and they were like chanting around the boots, and it sounded like they were talking backwards. But I don't believe her. Even if it's true, I don't care if they're a cult because they're really hot. Do they have a lot of friends? Yeah, tons of friends. I'd say they're the most popular kids in school. I mean, like, everyone in the school totally looks up to them. I bet they could get any girl in school, too. Or boy, for that matter. Hey, are you going to eat your cake? I shook my head and pushed the plastic tray across the table to her. For the remainder of lunch, I listened to Mai talk about Jared through mouthfuls of half-dissolved frosting. Back at the dorm, I sorted through the pile of textbooks the school left for me. My radio was playing a poppy tune, equal parts music to static. Mai fervently scribbled in a notebook at her desk, hunched over it with strikingly poor posture. Hey, Mai. She did not bother to look up. Am I supposed to have a textbook for History 309? She shuffled through the papers on her desk before producing a thick textbook. A demure man in a powdered wig frowned at me from the cover. Yeah, this one, I sighed. I don't have that one. The school must have missed it. Mai shrugged and set the textbook back on her pile. They have a bunch at the library. You can just hack one out. Where's the library? Mai rifled through her notebook and wrote something down. She tore the page out and handed me a crudely drawn map. Oh, okay. We'll be back in a little bit. It took me at least 20 minutes to find the library. By the time I realized I was holding the map upside down, the sun was setting. The library was much larger than I expected. The walls, lined from floor to ceiling with books of all sizes on rough wooden shelves, intimidated. I headed for the front desk. A recognizably green and gray jacket was behind the counter. Normal boots. I briefly considered running away.
Hey.
Can I help you? Too late. Yeah. The school forgot to give me one of my textbooks. I was told I could get it here. Which one is it? The History 309 textbook. He stepped from behind the counter and motioned for me to follow. We dodged between the aisles in comfortable silence. He seemed friendly enough. I should say something. What was his name again? Shane? Gerard? John? No, not John.
Satch.
Huh? Oh, you work here? Ugh. Of course he worked here. He chuckled, dimples appearing in his cheeks. Yeah, I'm the librarian's assistant. It's my second year, and I love it. I get to help people find books that speak to them. His eyes twinkled like a kid on Christmas. Your book's right down here. He stopped at a row of thick, dusty books. Was this all history? And pulled out the book with the powdered wig man I saw earlier. Thanks. He waved his hand. It was nothing. Do you need help with anything else? I wanted to make a good impression on the Normal Boots Club, but I couldn't think of anything. No. Thanks.
Copacetic.
Copacetic. You're welcome. As we headed back through the cavernous library, my unease melted away. Ah! Sorry. We weren't talking, but just being near him felt like being wrapped in a soft blanket. I resisted the urge to snuggle up to him. We neared the front desk, stepping around a clump of studying students. As we passed, one of them shifted. Something white flew past my face. A thick piece of triangular paper lay at my feet. I bent over it and picked it up. It was surprisingly heavy. There was a quarter inside it. If I was just a hair slower, it would have hit me in the face. The student snickered, and I recognized it as the boys that made fun of my hair this morning among them. My heart dropped. I scanned my memory for anything I might have done to offend them, but came up with nothing. My hand started to shake. I hid it behind my back, trying to think of some way to defend myself. Why did you do that? What do you mean? We were just messing around. Are you suggesting we did it on purpose? I faltered. There was nothing I could say. I was outnumbered. They would twist my words around no matter how straightforward I was. No, Sorry. One of the boys held out his hand for the paper. I inched closer to give it to him, angry at myself for being so compliant. I wish I were. A gentle warmth closed over my hand and took the paper from me. Satch examined the paper closely. I see what the problem is. Your aim would have been better if you cut the corners before you folded it. He placed the paper on the table. The boy looked at him in sheer awe. Be careful, though. You almost hit her, and that would have been awful. My hands began to sweat as a panic shifted through me, afraid of the response, but... Ah, jeez, we're sorry. We'll be careful next time. Yeah, it was an accident. They apologized? Thanks. I appreciate it. He gave them a wide smile and continued off down the aisles. I followed closely behind, my legs weak. Don't tell me they stopped because of him, simply because I was with him. I wanted to thank him. My heart was pounding so hard, and I knew my voice would shake. We reached the front counter, and he scanned the history book. My lips trembled to myself as I struggled to say anything to thank him. He tilted his head to the side. What books do you like to read? Oh, fiction? He chuckled. I just finished a good book. I think it'd be right up your alley if you don't mind me saying so. He reached under the counter and pulled out a thick green book and passed it to me. A man in black stood on the front, hugging a woman in royal robes. It's long, but it's one of my favorites. The Princess Betrothed. I know things can be tough transferring to a new school. If you're ever worried, just read this. It'll transport you 100 miles away in a second. Tears stung my eyes, so I ducked my head.
Satch.
Thank you, Satch. For more than just the books. You're welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I got your name. I'm a transfer student.
Hana.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Hana. Let me know how you like the book. I will! That couldn't have gone better. Not only was Satch impossibly kind, but being around him felt easy, refreshing, like being doused in the mist of a waterfall. Oh gosh, what am I thinking? My cheeks hot, I left the library, 2 surprisingly heavy books under one arm. Alright, and this is where we're going to wrap up today's episode. If you liked it, you should comment, subscribe, and like it, and leave a comment, subscribe, and like it below. My name's Gothic, and I hope you come back for the next episode. I'll see you around. Bye!